Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Selling Sanity podcast. I am your hostess, Theresa Concepcion, Esquire, and on today's episode, I'm going to do things a little differently. I finished watching the third episode of the second season of Owning Manhattan, and I have a message for Ryan Serhant. First of all, Ryan, let me introduce myself. As I said, my name is Theresa. I graduated from Cornell Law in 2007, clerked for the Supreme Court of New Jersey, and then I actually started my career in Midtown. I was at 55th and 3rd, so right above PJ Clark's. And actually, at another point in time, lived at 55th and Lex. So I'm familiar with Midtown. And currently, I'm retired from commercial litigation, but I spent 16 years representing companies of all sizes, from startups to Fortune 50 companies. And I've met a lot of CEOs. I've talked to people ranging from Jamie Dimon and Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor to, security guards in federal court. I treat everybody equally. And I want to give you the benefit of the doubt as a CEO because I really like you. I like your audiobooks. I think you're very motivating. You're very driven. I think you're very genuine. And I think you're well intentioned. I think you know the value of diversity. That's why you have people who work for you who speak every language. I know that you market around the world. There are a lot of things that you're doing really well. So I want to start off by saying that, and that's why I'm a fan. And that's why I think you're intelligent enough to really take in and consider what I'm going to tell you now. Okay. You have a company that's growing really, really quickly and you can't keep your eyes on everything. And so, what the first three episodes of Owning Manhattan showed me is that you have a blind spot. You have a blind spot when it comes to microaggressions against people of color who work in predominantly white spaces. I spent 16 years as a litigator in big law. I know people from Cravath, Skadden, Weil, Sidley, and I'm sure you know all of those names. So I understand the kind of aggressive behavior that on its surface might not look so extreme, but is actually really upsetting, traumatizing, undermining, and disappointing for women of color. So I want to talk about the Jess Taylor situation because one of the things that you as a business owner need to remember is that you are building a business with protocols. So, are you making sure as a CEO that your protocols are being, number one, put in place to ensure fair treatment of everybody? And number two, are they being implemented? Are they being trained? Are you training people on how to treat each other fairly? Because you have a scene where you have a white woman and a white guy walk over to Genesis, an African Dominican woman, okay? And she's sitting down, and you have two white people hovering over her. That right there is a violation of protocol because if Jessica Taylor really had a suspicion that Genesis was talking to her client, isn't the proper protocol for Genesis to go to her team leader and raise the issue that way? So, right then and there, why is it okay for two white people to go over to a woman of color, hover over her, and then demand that they speak? Then they take what I call a perp walk. And the reason I say it's a perp walk is because number one, they made it look like she was in trouble. Number two, they did so in front of a lot of people. Number three, they then make her walk a considerable amount of time before they get to a sofa to sit down. And then number four, when they finally do start talking to her, Jessica doesn't take at face value Genesis's explanation. There are many reasons for Genesis to network with many kinds of people. And there was nothing about Genesis' response to the introduction that warranted the kind of pull aside behavior that Jessica and Eric displayed. That's on you. What kind of training are you giving your agents on following protocol when they have an issue? And why is it okay for you to go and talk exclusively to Jessica Taylor and ask her what happened, but you don't have a scene where you're talking to Genesis one on one and asking her what happened and asking to see the emails. Why is Jessica Taylor's the only version that's shown? You only see her, you're talking to her only, okay? And then you have a conference. So either you didn't talk to everybody else or they edited out everybody else, in which case you need to have a conversation with production and you need to say, listen, when I talk to every person on my team about one particular issue, that all has to make the air because I want to have an accurate representation of who I am as a CEO. Because right now, the only representation I see is that you, as a white male CEO, had a conversation with a white woman who started crying. And the next thing you know, you're calling everyone to a conference room and scolding everyone, including Genesis. And that was the person who had the microaggression against her in the first instance. You did not handle that conference room well because you said that they were all making you look bad. And I'm pretty sure that if the shoe was on the other foot, and Genesis had been accusing Jessica Taylor of contacting her client, and it had been Genesis that went and pulled Jessica Taylor out of her chair and perp walked her across and then said, how can you be talking to my client? And then it was Genesis who didn't accept the explanation provided by Jessica. I'm pretty sure that if that had been the scenario, number one, you would have said to Genesis, there are protocols in place for a reason and a reason why you talk to your team leader. Don't do that again. I'm sure that would have happened to Genesis. So why didn't that conversation happen to Jessica Taylor? That is a microaggression. That is what makes it so hard for women of color to succeed in corporate white spaces, because you can be disrespected and undermined professionally and your boss doesn't have your back. He includes you in this chastising when Genesis didn't do anything wrong. Your failure to address her core issue is very similar to the way Jason Oppenheim fails to address, the core issue of two agents getting into an argument at a black colleague's $20 million open house. In this situation, you're no better because you had a black female Dominican colleague coming up to you and saying, I had an issue where I was approached inappropriately and you as CEO let it slide. You let Jessica Taylor and you let Eric slide. And then you single out Niall. Listen, I can understand you don't want people raising their voice, but Niall is the least of your problems. The only thing you should have said to Niall is next time, don't raise your voice. But you should have given Genesis the professional courtesy of doing in front of her what she did, you know, what she deserved. You should have turned to Jessica Taylor and be like, don't do that again. There's protocols in place for a reason. I looked at the email and nothing about the email chain warranted that kind of approach. I don't have bullies at Serhant. I don't have people that are going to go gang up on somebody 2 against 1. That's not how I do things at Serhant. That is how you should have handled the situation. But you have a chance to make it right because you are being shown around the world mishandling a situation involving a woman of color who works for you. So you have an opportunity now to set the record straight and correct the issue. You can make a statement, you can release a statement saying, listen, after seeing, the full event between Jessica Taylor, Genesis, Niall, and Eric, I realize that I failed to adequately address Genesis's needs and her concerns regarding her reputation due to Jessica Taylor and Eric's inappropriate confrontation of her, which is not Serhant protocol. That is not how we want our agents to be treated. And I have informed Jessica that the next time she suspects someone of communicating with one of her clients, she needs to follow that protocol or she will be fired. If you're going to threaten to fire Niall, you should have threatened to fire Jessica Taylor. So you have a blind spot. And if you don't nip that in the bud, then you are just going to be another, real estate agency run by a white guy who lets racist shit happen all the time. This is a defining moment for you because, again, you have put yourself on a global scale. You have sold yourself as the best real estate agent in the world and as the best boss in the world and as the best broker in the world. And you want Serhant to be the best in the world and you want Owning Manhattan to be the best in the world. The best in the world, ask Kobe Bryant, own up to their mistakes, admit when they've done wrong, atone and move on. Don't be like Jason Oppenheim and just ignore everything wrong that happens so that you can, continue using your real estate office as a dating pool. I know that's not an issue for you, but the bottom line is that Jason Oppenheim is an example of a CEO who never takes responsibility for the way his agents are treated by other agents in professional settings. You can be different. You can show the world I'm different from every other white CEO in Manhattan. Because even though this is a city that is one of the most diverse in the world, it is also a city where it is incredibly difficult for people of color to be successful because of the fact that they constantly run into undermining and microaggressions in the workplace that go unanswered. So answer the call, Ryan. You are being called. I'm calling on you to do what's right. Don't let, these scenes where you're chastising Genesis along with everybody else, don't be that the image of how you treat these kinds of situations go unaddressed. The second thing I wanted to tell you was respect to Jordan March. Listen, you have a lieutenant who has a problem. Your job as his boss is to solve his problem. He feels like he's not being treated in a way that's commensurate with his devotion to your company. So you challenge him. You don't just keep acknowledging that he has an issue and then expecting the issue to go away. You challenge him. You say, how about this? You sell $60 million worth of real estate at 200 Amsterdam. You sell me that much from that building and the next new development is yours. Because Black people feel like they are often overlooked. And it's not a good feeling when you've been there all the time and then you hire an outside person and you don't also give me a challenge. That outside person has the challenge of selling out the building 200 Amsterdam. Give your man a challenge as well. That's what he was trying to say. Challenge him. Because without that challenge, you're not giving him a chance to elevate. Unless you push, you're not giving people an understanding of what you will reward. You rewarded an outsider without them proving themselves to you in your shop. So challenge Jordan March in your shop. I haven't finished watching the season. I'm only on episode 3. So I hope he's still there by the end of this fucking show. But that's what you did wrong on Jordan March. Okay, so ask yourself again. Would you have challenged him or given him some kind of sales goal so that you can then say, if you meet this, if you take these steps, just like you did with Jade? Jade was reaching and you told her, listen, you got to do this, this, and that. You should have had that kind of conversation with Jordan March. You should have had that kind of conversation. It's like, these are the things that I need to see from you so that I can give you a building of that stature. So again, you have a blind spot. Law firms are hiring, diversity and inclusion directors. I know you don't want to hold yourself out to, be legally liable for things, but you should have somebody who can at least identify these issues and help you tackle these issues as they arise, not as they fester. Because you need to have a person that people of color feel safe going to. Otherwise, again, as you grow, you are going to just recreate the same toxic corporate environment that exists all around you in New York. I know you want to do better. I believe that you can do better. And I really hope I'm right in thinking that you will do better and you'll issue a public apology to Genesis. My name's Theresa. This was Selling Sanity. I'll catch you guys on the next podcast.